3 ways you can buy houses without using any of your own money. Hey, it's Rahim, a property entrepreneur. I started my property investment journey a few years ago with nothing, no piggy banks, no savings, no inheritance, to building a multi-million-pound property investment portfolio. So if you cannot invest 15 to 20 minutes of your time to watch this video, I'm afraid you're not gonna make it. So let's look at the first ways you can raise finance. The first way is forming a relationship that we call joint venture partnership. What is a joint venture partnership? Joint venture partnership is the process by which an investor would forge a relationship with an other investor that has distinct identities or skills that they can bring together in order to achieve a common goal. There are 3 parts that makes up a good joint venture partnership. One is time, experience, and money. So in order for you to go and use joint venture partnership, it's important for you to know where you are in these 3 pillars. Are you the one who's got the money? Fine. And you don't want to do the hard work, perhaps? Or are you the one who's got time and you're willing to do all the work? Or maybe you are the one who's got the experience and really and truly you got the experience but you haven't got the time to do the work. Or maybe you've got the experience but you haven't got the money to do it. So these are the only ways your relationship will work. So once we've determined what skill we do have, we then go and look for a complementary resource or skill that will enable us to expedite our process. So think about it yourself. Are you the one who's got the money? If you do have the money, fine. If you haven't got the money, if you're watching this, obviously you haven't got the money. Perhaps you got the time. You got to have the time or the experience, right? In order for you to get someone to invest in you. So you go and invest in yourself, get the experience, get the knowledge, and then obviously make sure you have enough time to ensure it happens for you. So forming a relationship with a joint venture partner is very, very important. Here are the things you need to note before you forge that relationship. First of all, is your joint venture partner a flexible person? Is it someone that you can communicate with effectively at the same level so you understand each other? Because if he's an asshole at the beginning, guess what? He's going to be an asshole during the relationship. So if he's one of those people, you don't want to work with them. And secondly, you got to date them. You got to date your joint venture partners. You got to go get to know them, go out with them, see their family lifestyle, their business lifestyle. It's like forging a relationship with a boy or a girl, basically, because you don't want to go in bed with a stranger, someone that you don't know. So get to know them. And most importantly, you got to have roles and responsibility. So you got to write that. It's not an assumption. You don't need to assume it. Oh, he's only bringing in the money. That's what we know. You got to write it down. Put your responsibility. Like, I'm the one who's responsible to search for the deals. I'm the one who's responsible to analyze the deals. I'm responsible to view the deals. Whatever your responsibilities are, you need to write them down. And then look at the investor themselves. Ask them what are their responsibilities. Maybe in your case, they're going to be bringing in the money. So if they're bringing in the money, what else are they bringing in? Are they bringing in experience? Are they bringing in network of people that have got money? Whatever their responsibilities are, you got to write that down. So once you write your roles and responsibility, the next thing you want to talk about is profit share. So if we were to buy this property, flip it or remortgage it, how much profit does each and every one of you supposed to have? And here's the point. You got to make this clear so both parties understand exactly what they're getting into. You know, like when the relationship is new, everybody's excited, everybody wants to do something about it, but that's the time you got to put these rules. That's the time that you got to determine this profit shares. Next, talking about loss. This is what people don't like to talk about, losses. Now, if you were to make a loss, who takes on the loss, right? Or how do you share the loss, for example? Suppose you went and bought a property. Maybe you did not get profit on that property, or maybe you not be able to. So for whatever reason, there is a loss on the property. The other thing you need to talk about is how long do you intend to forge that relationship? Very important, because you need to establish that. Is it a partnership just for one property deal? Is it a partnership to build a company that buy and sell properties? Is it a partnership of a company that can buy and hold properties and rent them out? Whatever that partnership is, you determine that and determine how long are you going to be in that relationship. Whatever that may be for you, it needs to be written down. Because here's the thing, when you write that down, it brings security, it brings trust, and it allows you all to nurture that relationship. So you then determine that. The next part you're going to determine is if they were to leave the joint venture partnership, at what stage do partners are allowed to exit the agreement? That also needs to be cleared, because here's the thing: if you do not clear that, and then you bought a property, you're halfway renovating it, and then one of the investors said, look, I'm not interested in it, I'm walking away, it puts you in a disaster. It puts you in a serious problem. So it's very important for you to determine at what point each partner would leave, and if you're going to do it by steps as well, by saying, okay, if you leave at this point, you get nothing from your investment, but if you leave at that point, you get maybe 10% of your investment back, or if you leave at that point, you got 50%, and so on and so forth. You want to put it in steps in order to entice everybody in the relationship. So I'm going to backtrack here a little bit. I'm going to talk about profit share a little bit. Suppose then you're talking about profit share here, and you've made X amount of profit. You got to be thinking about, I know you've talked about how much profit each person would have, but at the same time, how much profit are you going to keep in the business to keep the business going? Because obviously if you share all the profit, there's no money left to grow the business. So all that's got to be determined prior to buying or acquiring any property deal. So suppose then you've got that break clause added in, at what point someone would be leaving. The other thing you want to be thinking about here is decision making. Who makes the decision? Suppose John is ill, Peter is available. Can Peter make decision? Or suppose a decision needs to be made, do you make the decision, or is the investor who makes the decision? That one also needs to be talked about, because sometimes people feel because they're bringing in the money, they need to make the decision. In some instances, it's not the case, because they may not be experienced on acquiring houses, so they can't make decisions. Maybe you make the decision yourself. Oh, sorry for interrupting this video. I just wanted to draw your attention to a guide I've just created. This guide is for you if you're looking to start and scale in property investment, and you've got questions that you want to ask in order to start your property investment. This guide is the ultimate guide to start and scale in property investment journey. I talk about the different type of investment strategies. I also discuss the 11 ways you can raise finance to make any property no money down deals, and the type of properties to buy in order to generate a serious return in your investment. And I'm giving this book away for completely free of charge, no string attached, nothing, absolutely free. Click the link on the description of this video to get your free guide now. We've only got a limited number of these copies available as well, so click the link to get your guide now. Let's get back to our video. The second way to buy properties with no money down is purchase lease option. So what is purchase lease option? Purchase lease option is the process by which an investor would agree to buy a property from a homeowner or landlord at today's price for some time in the future. What does that even mean, right? So basically what you would do is to find a landlord who's looking to sell a property but could not sell it for whatever reason. Maybe they're struggling to sell it, or perhaps they're asking for a lot more money and nobody is interested in buying the property. So for whatever reason, the owner's not been able to sell the property. You can then approach that owner and tell the owner that, like, look, I'm interested in buying a house at the price you're asking for, but I pay you gradually down the line. Meanwhile, I take full responsibility of the mortgage payment, repair and maintenance, and then pay you additional amount in order to be able to pay the house off. So this does not require you lots of money, right? And it could only cost you maybe £1, right? For you to forge a relationship like this. So what you want to get, the advantage to you here is that you don't need 25% deposit to buy the house. You don't need this heavy stamp duty to buy that house. All you need basically is to have a landlord who is looking to sell but not desperate for the money. And why would landlord do this in the first place? The first place is basically that they have not been able to sell the property. Okay, that's one of the ways you could actually get a landlord to agree with you. And secondly, maybe they have lots of debts on them, right? They have lots of interest payments to make, and they cannot afford to pay an additional interest for that property. So in essence, they cannot keep that property. Or perhaps they are looking to sell, but they're not going to sell sooner because they've got all these taxes coming to them due to the amount of money they're making every year. So that could be a reason why they may consider selling the property in the future to reduce their tax bracket whilst getting them steady income from the same property without worrying about the management side of things or paying interest or mortgage on that property? Here are the two questions you need to ask the potential seller to know whether you may be able to buy that property on a purchase lease option. The first question you want to ask is, are you willing to rent me this property for 5-10 years on a long-term basis? The second question, would you be interested in selling this property to me in the next 5-10 years? If the landlord or the homeowner answer yes to those two questions, you've got a potential purchase lease option deal on the table for you. So what you then do, obviously, you agree with them, say, look, I can take on this property, manage it, do everything for you, and buy the property at this price sometime in the future. So you agree on that. It's very basic, easy, but the key things to note here when you're doing a purchase lease option is that you got to have solicitors involved. It's not something that you can do on the side. It's not something that you can just pick a contract and obviously get them to sign it. No, it does not work like that, because here's the thing. When it comes to money, people get greedy. So you want to get their solicitors to represent them, and you got your solicitor to represent them. So it is advantage for the homeowner because they've got that income coming in every single month. They don't have to bother about repair and maintenance. And then obviously for you, then you got to take responsibility of the property as if you own it. Basically, again, you're going to go and rent that property if you're clever. You rent it as an Airbnb so you can make money from it. And also you're responsible for the repair and maintenance. The advantage for you don't have to put a deposit to buy the house. You've got a house that you can rent out straight away, or perhaps you can use as serviced accommodation. And you could also perhaps add value to the property whilst you're there as well. So it is kind of a win-win situation, but there's a catch. You see, when you're buying that house, when you agree to buy that house at today's price for sometime in the future, for most investors, they want to be putting an additional investment in order to be able to have enough money for the deposit when it's time to call the option. So some people contribute money from the rents that they're receiving from the property, not from their own pocket, but from the money they receive from renting the property. Now you're watching me, maybe you use that property as serviced accommodation, Airbnb house. Let's say that property is making about, let's say, £1,000 net profit every single month. So the clever investors will say, okay, now what I will do, I'll contribute £300 a month towards buying the house when I call the option. Suppose then halfway through you want to exit the option because you haven't got the obligation to buy it. You can exit at any time, but what would happen? You would have lost any money you've put down towards buying the house. That's the only kind of catch. But believe me or not, if you structure a purchase lease option and you do it right, you never want to exit because you know the property would go up in value anyways. That is one of the ways you can then buy that house. So what you then do, you rent the property, you'll be saving towards the property as well. You'll be saving £300, giving the landlord every single month, and then obviously you'll be saving also additional saving just in case that money is not enough to put the 25%. And here's the thing, if you're saving also, that gives you enough coffers to be able to renovate the house for when you bought it to further push the value so you can recycle all the money, which is the deposit you would have put down, and then go again and buy more houses. But the key things to note here when it comes to purchase lease option agreement, you got to pay your option fees every single month. That could be £1, right? And whatever the mortgage payment is, the interest payment and the insurance to keep the property going. But also ensuring the landlord is paying for the mortgage, okay? Because the landlord officially still owns the property. So what you could do is to get the landlord to send you a statement every month showing that they're paying for the property. Because if you don't do that, you may be paying them all that money, but they're using the money to do something else. When it comes to buying the property or during the purchase lease option process, you got a repossession order on that property. That would be a massive mistake from your end. So get them to send you monthly statements showing paying their mortgage, and at the same time ensuring the insurance is also intact with the property. The third and final way to buy property with no money down. I love this. I call it OPM, using other people's money. This is one of the fastest ways, one of the ways that investors are building ridiculous, massive amount of property investment portfolio. If you know how to convince people, how you can show you can add value in people's life, you can get serious investors working with you. So how do you use other people's money? So what are these type of people? The first type of person would be your family, could be your husband, your wife, your girlfriend, your brother, your sister, your cousin, because these are the people that will lend you money even if you haven't got an experience, right? If they've got it, obviously. These are the first people you want to approach. It's important for you to check whether you got a gold mine in your house first before you go out looking for gold mines. So maybe your family members could be one of those people that you could use to actually start your property investment journey. So never, ever, and ever look down on the people that you live with. It's all about asking for opportunities. The people around you might not have the money, but they might have the connections, or they might know people that have the money that are looking for opportunities like this. So don't look at your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your brother, your sister, your nephew down purely because maybe you are older than them or you think you're more exposed than them. But if you don't ask, you don't get, basically. But that's one way, family and friends. I hope that works for you. Suppose you haven't got family and friends. You have equity. If you have a property, you own it for some amount of time. Let's give an example. Say you've got a property that worth, let's say, £300,000, and you've got a mortgage of £100,000. If you take the 100 from the £300,000, you've got £200,000 equity sitting in your property doing nothing. You can approach the bank and the bank can lend you up to 75% of that amount. You can use that amount to go and start your property investment. Or perhaps you can go to the banks, as everybody will do. If you got a good job, you can go and get the bank to lend you money, basically. All I would say, don't tell them you're going to buy a house with it, right? Because if you do, they're not going to lend you the money. Tell them you're going to buy a car, you're going to go on holiday, you're going to take your wife on a honeymoon, whatever that may be for you. But these are the ways you could raise money through that way. Or perhaps you've got good credit score, good credit rating, you can use credit cards. You see, my first property deal, I renovated the whole house using credit card. But here's the thing, you need to know how to use credit cards, okay? You need to ensure you're looking for 0% interest, 0% transfer, and ensuring that you pay your money on time, because this is the thing, it's a bit complicated, but you got to be on top of it in order for you to be able to use that efficiently. And another way to raise finance is networking with people, networking with like-minded individuals are in the same trade as you are. In a business event, networking event, this is where you can find people that have got money that would want to work with you, or people that have got experience you can nurture together to start and scale your property investment journey. So these are the 3 ways I've used to start my property investment journey from zero, no piggy bank, no savings, to building a multi-million pound property investment portfolio. So if you want to manage and multiply income through investment properties, this video here is for you. Watch that video. I walk you through step by step on how you can start investing by renting properties from landlord and subsequently rent them out and make serious return on your investment. If you like this video or any of my videos, smash the like button below, subscribe to my channel for more amazing videos. I look forward to sharing the next one. Thank you.